Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Living on Blockchain. Today, we are speaking to Harshal. Harshal is the CEO of Xade Finance. Xade is building innovative products around DeFi. They've created basically a platform which is at the forefront of DeFi innovation. And this particular conversation was obviously a lot about their platform, their new launches, which was very, very interesting to see that kind of enthusiasm around building is almost contagious. Harshal has very high hopes regarding, like the most of us, I think, listening in and tuning in and being in Web3 around where Bitcoin is going and how we are already in a bull market. So this is a great conversation if you're a young builder, and I can't wait for you guys to hear this. Let's deep dive right in.
Hi, Harshal. Thank you so much for making the time to speak to me today. How are you doing?
Hi, Tarusha. I'm doing really great and just suffering from the bull market. So yeah, everything is very great.
All right. Okay. So you mentioned that you are just sort of looking at the bull run that is perhaps about to begin. What is your let's before anything else, let's get your take on that. Where do you think the market is heading?
Personally, I believe we're already in a bull market. We entered bull market when the ETF was announced, and
Hmm.
I believe like the market is going to the moon, right? So it's 2020 again,
Hmm.
when next year is going to be 2021. So we are just getting started with the bull market, but it's just the beginning. So last time we hit $69,000. So I mean, going by the meme culture, we should hit $420,000. But
Right.
I believe a realistic target should be $120,000 for Bitcoin, and the space is going to the moon. Like we are getting mass adoption now. I mean, the previous cycles we reached to a limited amount of audience, but this
Hmm.
time, if last time we reached to about 300 million people with the bull market, this time the number is going to be more than 1 billion, I believe. So that's my take on the bull market. We are just getting started. This is just entirely like 2020,
Hmm.
and the ETF. And I believe that in the next 5 years, in the next 5 years, we'll hit 10 trillion, and in the next 10 years we may see Bitcoin flip gold. It's a very bullish prediction, but yeah, I'm very bullish on cultism, so yeah.
Awesome. So this is a very good way to start the episode. And you're one of the few people who's trying to perhaps everybody I think secretly is trying to time the market and predict where the market will go. But you've come out with these big numbers, and obviously we are all very bullish on this ecosystem as a whole and where we are going. But now just like taking a step back and talking a little about your journey. How did you get into Web3, and what has been your journey so far like?
100%. So I got into crypto in 2019 when when I was just 13 years old, get curious on the internet. I was just like, I just heard about Bitcoin from somewhere, to be honest. And then just invested in Bitcoin. Then probably was, I was inactive for about a year. 2020, COVID came in, the lockdown came in, and I became more curious. I had nothing, I had nothing better to do. So started learning more about crypto, lost some money in 2020. 2021, the Dogecoin saga started, and the Dogecoin saga was basically sort of like a turning point. Uh, the GameStop saga and the 2021 Dogecoin saga brought in a new era of retail investment, which for me as well was a big turning point, because I was able to devote more time to crypto at that point, and I was particularly fascinated by DeFi, where for me, DeFi, I mean, to be honest, DeFi is the biggest use case of Web3, biggest use case of crypto. And DeFi personally, and like DeFi for me was always meant to replace the $22 trillion financial system. But when I was using DeFi, it was nowhere near its vision of replacing traditional banks. And
Right.
products were not up to the mark. Like at that point, we had Uniswap, at that point, we had Curve, at that point, we had several products, but all of them at that point were not providing any real world banking service. And for me, that sort of that was uh, the 2021 version of DeFi was not going to get mass adoption, and nobody
Hmm.
was solving the problem of mass adoption at that point. And even if they were not going in the right direction. So in January of 2022, after spending some time in the DeFi market for, I would say, I think a year, I decided I needed to be the one to step up and solve these problems. I identified three major problems in the DeFi space. The first one being that DeFi products have a terrible user experience,
Hmm.
terrible UI, complex, tedious. It has a very steep learning curve to it. Secondly, fragmentation was a big problem. It was fragmented across different chains, different protocols, and anybody who came to DeFi would any day prefer centralized exchanges, considering the liquidity, considering the fees and everything. DeFi as a product could not compete with centralized exchanges. How the hell can we
Right.
compete with central banks? And
Right.
number we were focusing on making quick money. We were trying to get quick adopters. And like again, like with every great innovation out there, DeFi was also like DeFi is still filled with scams. DeFi has a lot of unsustainable incentives, unsustainable economics. We were trying a lot of things, but at the end of the day, we were not competing with neobanks, or we were not competing with traditional banks from day one.
Hmm.
So once I found these three problems, I thought of a very simple solution. Why not create a super mobile app which has the user experience indistinguishable from a digital bank, such as Revolut, such as Monzo, such as any other popular, such as PayPal, such as any popular digital bank, while powering it by the best of DeFi.
Hmm.
Early we were on one chain, but then realized one chain is not going to make it, and the future is multi-chain.
Right.
Uh, but right now, the liquidity and everything is fragmented across so many protocols and chains.
Hmm.
Uh, so it's very difficult to choose the best one out of them. So we decided, why not aggregate the best of DeFi across all chains, EVM and non-EVM, across all protocols, and provide them in a streamlined manner, specifically created to replicate traditional banking services through the super mobile app, which has the user experience of a digital bank. So that's what we are doing at Xade, where we are solving, where we are trying to solve all the major problems of DeFi and get it ready for mass adoption, so that even your grandma can use it without even realizing that they've entered the world of DeFi. So that's what my journey in DeFi and crypto has been like. I started as a investor, then became a trader, then became an algo trader. I would say, I was doing arbitrage. I was doing a hell lot of arbitrage. I was running trading bots. I was yeah. So I was a total degen, and then I became a builder in 2022. So yeah, that's what my journey in Web3 has been like. I started in crypto, and right now I'm in Web3. So yeah.
Nice. I think that is a journey for a lot of folks who, started off as traders and they got in on the retail side and then they decided that, they can really do something to perhaps change the user experience or the way this technology is being adopted. But perhaps, looking back, who was or what was that one factor or one person who perhaps pushed you or introduced you to this technology?
I mean, there was like a lot. There were a lot of technologies which were there, but there was one technology in particular which actually influenced my thinking a lot, and shaped a lot of my thinking. It was Terra, even though
Okay.
they collapsed, but overall, I knew that they were a Ponzi.
Hmm.
I knew that they were a Ponzi. They were gonna fail, and the economics were not sustainable. But Terra started something. Like Terra got mass adoption through Chai. Like I think that's perhaps the only. At that point of time, it was the only DeFi app to have over 10 million users. Terra got a lot of the retail users through Anchor, through Mirror, and it was doing something in the right direction, just with the wrong way. So
Right.
the Terra ecosystem. I mean, personally, I believe what Terra wanted to achieve: create multiple stable coins and use those stable coins across different DeFi protocols, which are basically used to replicate traditional banking services. It was a very fantastic idea, but again, the base and the technology was very weak, and the intentions of the founders were not correct. The algorithmic stable coins are not the way to go. Uh, Unsustainable economics are not the way to go. So once you remove all of that, once you solve that, so I believe Terra was perhaps the biggest reason, or the biggest inspiration for me to start Zed, or for me to get into the space. So yeah, that's what I believe.
Wow, okay. So that is how you started, and look where you are. So now with Zaid, you are building primarily an interface that would make it easy for users to use Web3 in a perhaps a very seamless manner. Can you tell us a little more about the product?
100% definitely. So like right now we are live with Z 2.0. With Z 2.0, we call it the best trading experience ever.
Okay.
So with Z 2.0, over the next 3 weeks, we are launching three products.
Hmm.
The first product is what we call it's basically the ultimate trading experience. By what I mean by the ultimate trading experience is we provide you with a very seamless experience. Like, of course, like, we have advanced charts, we have latest news, we have multiple markets, and we aggregate liquidity across all chains, EVM or non-EVM, and we give you the best rates possible across all chains without any gas. That's our product number one, which we have already launched. Then we have another product coming out next week, which is on-chain stocks, on-chain forex, and on-chain commodities. We are
Okay.
bringing in on-chain stocks in partnership with Denari, so you can trade Tesla on-chain, you can trade on Nvidia, Coinbase, Apple, and the most popular stocks out there, and you can even receive dividend on it. It's backed 1:1 by the real world assets.
Wow. Nice.
On-chain forex, yeah, on-chain forex. It's pretty simple. We are working with Xade for that, and they are literally the best market makers for on-chain forex in the space. And on-chain commodities, it's very simple. A lot of people are already doing it, but we are working with Denari, we are working with Xave, and we are also working with yes. So Denari and Xave are two people who are helping us bring in these real world assets on chain so that people can trade. So these three assets are something which people have already traded for a long period of time, and yeah, they will continue to do so, whether it's on chain or off chain. And lastly, we are launching the following week a product which is loved by degens, by non-crypto folks, everyone. It's called perpetual futures, and like perps are something which has found product market fit, and
Hmm.
we are partnered up with the best perp decks out there, which is Hyperliquid and DYDX. So we are partnered with two of the best perp dexes out there, and we'll give
Right.
the users the best rates by aggregating these two perp dexes. And with, as you know, with Hyperliquid, we can give you access to multiple markets with low market cap tokens or high market cap tokens. And Hyperliquid has probably the best technology for perps out there, whereas
Hmm.
DYDX has the best liquidity. So once you aggregate two of the market leaders, we can provide our users the best experience. And other than these three core features, we have two very interesting features coming out. These are more uh, directed towards retail traders, but I love using them. One of them is called DGen AI, which provides you with the most advanced data, with basically analyzed data in the most seamless manner possible. So you can ask questions like, why is Bitcoin pumping for the past 5 minutes? And it will give you a detailed analysis of what happened in the past 5 minutes. It will give you the technical analysis. It will give you the latest news. It will give you the inflows and outflows. So we aggregate data across multiple data points. We are partnered with Token Terminal. We are partnered with Look on Chain and multiple other partners to bring you this data, while also running multiple models on our in partnership with Veron as well. So we have been working a lot on DGen AI. It's the ultimate analysis tool. Whether you're a beginner, whether you're a quant, you're gonna love using that product. So, and then the other product we have is portfolio analysis. So you can basically look into your portfolio. You can get a look into all your trades. You can analyze what went wrong, what went right, what can you do better, and everything. So that's what's going on with Z 2.0. We are looking to make the best trading experience, and then we'll expand into other products. Whether it's trading and spending are two of the products which are on our radar, and then
Hmm.
we'll expand onto other products later.
Wow, wonderful. That sounds like quite a journey, and kudos on the collaborations that you guys have made so far. All the partnerships sound very exciting, and especially this introduction of real world assets, which is a new product that you've mentioned. That is super exciting as well, because real world assets on chain like have become all a rage nowadays, and executing them has been a bit of a challenge, I believe, because a few years back, I guess it was too early. We tried executing gold and silver on chain as well, and it was obviously doing it on your own. It was kind of a logistical nightmare with all the uh, you know bureaucracy and the jurisdiction and the licenses that we had to sort of procure if you're going and doing this directly. You are tackling this obviously with an intermediary and who are helping you facilitate this. what kind of challenges have you faced so far in actually executing this and getting it right?
I mean, personally, I believe since 2017, the biggest problem of bringing in tokenized real world assets is not like like contrary to what people believe that it's the legal side of the thing, it's the operation side. I believe the lack of demand is a major reason. Since 2017,
Hmm.
a lot of people try to bring in real world assets on chain,
Right.
real like tokenized real estate has existed since 2017.
Yeah.
uh, People have tried doing it. There is no demand. There was no demand. There is still very, very little demand, to be honest. And the
Hmm.
reason for that is that people in crypto are in the space to make money. They're in the space to get like they're here to get abnormal returns. So
Right.
investing in something like real estate on chain, something like investing in stocks on chain, that won't fit their risk appetite. But I believe that this time it's going to be a bit different because DeFi and crypto, they are gonna they're gonna separate. Like we are gonna see DeFi separate from crypto. Right now still crypto moves along with DeFi, but I believe in this cycle we are gonna see it go differently, where DeFi will get more mass adoption due to its actual use case rather than
Hmm.
just a playground for degens. So this cycle, I believe, real world assets will get demand, and in terms of execution, and in terms of the legal operation side of the things, we let our partners handle that because we cannot do everything by ourselves. We are good at
Right.
making that's we are good at making we are good at getting consumers. So that's what we do. We cannot we like for every Web2 company out there, Web3 company out there, having a good infrastructure is very required. Having a good
Hmm.
infra and having a good consumer layer. So we are that consumer layer. In crypto and Web3, we already have a lot of infra layers, but we don't have any good consumer layers. So we are that consumer layers where we are gonna utilize the best infra available in Web3. So that's what we are doing right now. But I believe the we have already solved the supply side problem. It's the demand side which is the major issue. And we can only solve that demand side issue once people start using DeFi to solve their real world problems, and they use DeFi to solve the problems that they face in their day-to-day lives. So yeah.
Right, I think that is a very valid point. Demand has always been on the scan side, especially for real world assets. And I think I attribute it mostly towards lack of understanding, perhaps, and the lack of clarity to a lot of investors and on the retail side as to what perhaps this asset class is and how would it really work. And I think that has slowly changed over the years. Would you agree?
I mean, yeah, definitely. Like compared to the 2017 batch and compared to the 20, like the current, like we have evolved a lot in the past 6 years, to be honest, right?
Hmm.
Compared to what we were 6 years ago. So we have definitely evolved a lot. And the retail has also evolved a lot. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I agree with you on that.
So, can you tell us a little about the team, that is building this brilliant product?
100% definitely. So our team, we go okay. So with our team, it's been quite a journey. So I started with two of my friends. One of them is Anshuman Tikriwal. Another guy is Arnav Jhajaria. So Anshuman Tikriwal is basically, we call the prodigy of a team. He won a hackathon. He won the world's largest AI hackathon. It's called AIIJC, where the chief guest was Mr. Vladimir Putin. And he won the first prize over there. And Vladimir Putin gave him the award for that. Then he got an offer from C Vision Labs at the age of 14 or 15. I don't remember.
Hmm.
He's a AI prodigy and he's just a great dev. Um, so that's one of founding members. Then we have Arnav Jhajaria, again, a great dev. He's been coding since he was, I think, 6 or 7 years old. So those were our first two team members. After that, we got all our team members from Discord. So, uh, so the first person I believe, I believe like Artyom Kulaga, he's our head of design.
Hmm.
He has worked in new. He's right. He was working in a neobank right up until 3 months ago. And he worked in a neobank. We cannot name them. So he has more than 4 5 years in experience in design. Then we have Andrew Elisa. He has actually worked in Uniswap Labs before. So he worked in Uniswap. He was a contributor at Uniswap sometime around 2016-17, and he's been in the crypto space since 2013. So he's an OG of the space. He's a very, very experienced dev. He has over 10 years of experience. He has worked in Armrock. He has worked in Cisco. He has worked in several companies. So he's our what we call a adult supervision to our tech team. Then we have a couple other members. You have Jashan Shetty. He has worked in Rep3 before, and then we have Priyanshu. He has worked in Purple Pay, and he has worked in so that's our team. It's a very very technical team,
Hmm.
uh, because we believe like um at this stage, once you crack the product and once you
Right.
crack distribution, you'll be able to do everything, and then we can later expand the team. I would also like to mention we also have some great advisors and great investors who have helped us out. So I would like to specially mention Mr. Ajit Khurana. So he has been advising us since for some time now, and he's there to guide us, because he was the CEO of ZepPay, so he knows the
Right.
consumer. So
Yeah.
that definitely helps us out.
Yeah.
And like other than our team, it is the ecosystem which has supported us a lot. The ecosystem, the people in the ecosystem who have supported us from day one. So whenever I mention about my team, I never forget to mention about the ecosystem, because the ecosystem has helped me as much as my team. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think Ajit is a friend, is a very old friend, and he's probably seen me from the very start of my entrepreneurial journey. Since 2011, we were working in deep tech then, and he has wonderful insights just owing to his very vast experience. So I completely agree with you there. And when it comes to the ecosystem, I totally believe that in Web3, it's all about sort of pulling people up, and it's a small ecosystem, and everybody is sort of there to give you perhaps the help and support that you need to get your vision to life, because I think all of us are rooting for the same thing, for larger and greater adoption of Web3.
I mean, definitely totally agree on that.
So now we've talked a lot about the team and your milestones that you're looking forward to. If you had to perhaps sum up your the USP, because you are obviously positioning it as an alternative to traditional banking, and if you had to sum up the USP for Zaid vis-a-vis traditional banking, how would you perhaps put that across?
So I'll start first with how we compete with neobanks.
Hmm.
And this is more of a easy comparison, because we all know how DeFi is better than neobanks. So I'm not gonna mention the advantages of DeFi and the advantages of non-custodial nature and the transparent nature of DeFi. But instead, what you can do with Zaid, what you can't do with your neobanks. So number one is the unparalleled access. With your neobanks, you probably cannot access the global assets, whether it's trading on chain stocks, US stocks, if you're sitting in India, or trading European stocks while sitting in India or while sitting in anywhere in the world. Second thing would be the execution, the settlement periods, the fees. Traditional finance just cannot compete with that. Number three would be just the sheer number of products we offer. Again, the products that we offer may not be available in different regions, such as futures, um, such as the high stable interest account, access to USD, access to literally any fiat currency in the world via stable coins, and several other features which the neobanks cannot provide. And obviously we have the advantages that DeFi has to offer. But let's talk about something more interesting. How do we compete against the thousands of wallets out there, the thousands of super apps out there, DeFi super apps, and how do we compete with centralized exchanges? So we have three major points on how we compete with them. Firstly, I would say the amount of protocols and the amount of chains that we aggregate is perhaps the most in the entire space. We have done our research. We are the ultimate aggregator. We aggregate everything. We aggregate chains, we aggregate protocols, we aggregate fiat ramps, we provide you card services. We are the ultimate aggregator platform available out there. So once you come to Zaid, you have the assurity that the rates that you will get, that the products that you will get is the best that DeFi has to offer. Secondly, I would say the experience. In Zaid, everything is gasless. So if you want to basically transact, you don't need to hold Ethereum, Matic, Solana, any of that stuff. You don't have to speculate on those assets just to do a simple transaction. In Zaid, everything is created in your neo banking style. So you have a checkings account, a savings account, an investments account, a futures account. And once you come to Zaid, you're not even going to realize that you're using DeFi. And lastly, I would say what makes Zaid what makes it very different is how streamlined we are. So compared to other wallets or other super apps which let you explore everything, all of our products have been streamlined and have been curated to replicate these traditional banking services. And lastly, we have made our product to be curated to different geographical areas with support for native currency. So you can do everything in your native currency. You can see everything in, let's say, INR, or maybe your Nigerian naira, or the Brazilian real. And like compared to other wallets or super apps, you can just view everything. In Zaid, you can even transact in your native currency. You can get your native language support. So again, to sum up, our three USPs would be the ultimate aggregator, the best experience, and the streamlined experience. So yeah.
Yeah, that is wonderful. I was on mute, but I think what you kind of put is for the as the USPs. I think those can be very fundamental to just having an easier experience while interacting with Web3 applications, or just getting into Web3 for somebody who's perhaps not that well versed in the way Web3 sort of functions, and it might, gasless being one of them, and having a clearer user experience, obviously giving them a good interface which they find easy to navigate, akin to perhaps Web2 applications, is a another advantage. But then let's take another step back and talk about acquiring these users. You guys have been able to acquire a considerable number of users, right? So how have you been able to do that? Trying to perhaps spill the secret sauce a little bit here.
Very simple. Like, I mean, compared to, like, we just take inspiration from Web 2, Web 2, and I mean, to be honest, what we're doing in Web 3, people think it's very different, but to be honest, we're just copying Web 2. We have just given it new terms. Airdrops are nothing but incentivization. PayPal had a very strong referral program. PayPal used to offer their users $5 for just using their platform. We have just named it airdrops. It's just a better way of incentivizing users, acquiring users through communities. We have had communities since the 70s. When Apple was launched, Apple was able to create their early user base via creating a strong community of tech and enthusiasts. Same goes for literally every other tech product that has existed since the 1970s or even before. So we are just following the same roadmap as every company has. So we have a simple three-step process. We acquire users through different communities, different tech and Web3 communities. We retain them we retain them through our experience. We retain them due to the sheer number of features that we keep launching. And we incentivize them with something known as Zaid points, which, unlike what we are seeing in DeFi points today, can actually be redeemed for different rewards, such as gift cards, such as cash, or maybe an exclusive role. We are partnered with several NFT projects, so you can get an exclusive collectible drop to you, and several other rewards that you can get by redeeming these Zaid coins or Zaid points. So it's a very simple three-step process. It's more about the execution than the guerrilla marketing techniques. So yeah.
Wonderful. Are you also trying to perhaps facilitate any offline events to increase engagement in the community?
Personally, like, I mean, again, like, we tend to spend more towards a product, because that's what we believe a major factor is. We
Hmm.
haven't started doing a lot of we don't do any offline events as of right now, because as I mentioned, we like to concentrate everything towards product, and the remaining just goes towards, like, acquiring users via the remaining goes towards incentives, and whatever is left just goes through basically getting different communities, or getting into different or just doing online marketing. Offline events is something which we haven't tapped into yet. and for
Okay.
a for a B2C company, I believe, like, um sponsoring different events, like, sponsoring different mega events, such as, if I were to say, different concerts, like whatever the traditional companies have been doing, right, the traditional consumer companies have been doing, makes more sense. Whereas
Hmm.
offline events such as meetups, such as hackathons, make more sense for B2B companies, or developer oriented companies who are trying to acquire, developers, or who are trying to acquire more Web3 native people. Whereas for a mass-based consumer products such as ours, meetups, personally, I believe won't be that effective. For us, it's mostly going to be like, sponsoring larger events such as like, maybe let's say a concert or any big event that's happening. That will probably help us more compared to, doing our own meetups. So I would say there are two reasons why we don't do meetups. Number one, like we are not focusing on them very much, and
Hmm.
number two, probably won't be as effective for us than, let's say, compared to a B2B company. So yeah.
Okay. So yeah, perhaps every company has their own strategy for acquisition, and you, because you are B2C, and you would rather look at perhaps more consumer facing ways
Yeah.
to reach out to your potential user base, which is wonderful. So you are currently live in multiple test nets, right? And the Polygon POS mainnet. So how does it help your product vision, by being live on so many uh, networks, and what is like the plan for the future? How do you envision Azade as a product working in the multiverse?
100%. So, well, first of all, like, we were live on Polygon POS and multiple test nets. Multiple test nets, we were live again. Like, that was a mistake which we did because, like, we were trying to farm, we were trying to get engagement, we were trying to get community members via different test nets. That
Hmm.
was, I like looking back into it, like, it was a good way to get some traction. But in the long term, I mean, it may help us, but to be honest, it destroys, the trust that the users have on you. So, personally, I don't consider it a very good decision. We started on the Polygon POS chain, considering the fact that the infrastructure available on Polygon is just unmatched.
Hmm.
Uh, but right now we have gone omni-chain. So we aggregate every chain that's out there, whether it's Solana, whether it's Cosmos, whether it's any EVM chain out there. We aggregate all of them because the future is not multi-chain; it's omni-chain, where we are going to aggregate. Where if the users want to experience DeFi, they shouldn't change their chains. They shouldn't just hop from one ecosystem to another. The users should experience the best of DeFi, which we are making possible by aggregating all these chains. So we as of right now are not native to any chain, and we are entirely omni-chain. So we abstract away all the chains, and we are live on all chains. All chains. As of this moment, it's around 45 plus. So yeah.
Okay. So this is a good vision to have. I think like having the vision of an omni-chain, I think that makes wonderful sense, and especially for a product like yours, which is more DeFi facing in the Web3 ecosystem. Now, stepping back a little from Zaid, I would love to talk about and get your perspective on the Web3 ecosystem in general. You've mentioned, and you started the conversation talking about how you feel that you're already in a the bull run has already begun, according to you. So can you tell us a little about your perspective on the kind of niches apart from DeFi that will do well in this current or upcoming bull run?
Definitely. So, personally, I believe I mean, we cannot predict which narratives are gonna do well,
Hmm.
which niches, which segments other than DeFi is gonna do well. It has always been very hard to predict. It will be impossible to predict, to be honest, because we see narratives formed in 2 days, like we saw with the RC404 narrative. We have seen the narrative with real world assets. Sometime it's deepen, sometime it's RWA. So it just keeps on changing every day. So we
Hmm.
cannot predict which narrative is going to do well, or you know which niche or which category is going to do well, because that changes every day. I mean, perhaps it's going to be a category which has not existed before this this bull run. DeFi is something which has been constant throughout. But if you were to ask me from the technology point of view, not from a price action point of view, other than DeFi, there are two things which I'm very very bullish on. Those are number one, it's Deepen. Deepen is a very interesting category where most of the products that we have today
Hmm.
are are probably probably gonna go to zero. But few Deepen projects are something who are actually making an impact, and they're actually gonna do good. So Deepen and decentralized identities, those are the two things other than DeFi which I'm bullish on, and real world assets, of course. So yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Okay, that is wonderful. Like your perspective around deepen and these basically on the infrastructure layer. I think there has been a special focus, and I also concur. I do think that in the next or the bull run that they are in, these are going to be the products that you have to kind of watch out for. Is there an infrastructure layer that you guys are perhaps working on as well, apart from make keeping this as a consumer ended product, but is that something that you guys have under the wraps as well?
I mean, we personally, like, at one point of time we were working on infrastructure,
Hmm.
because at that point of time we believed that, the infra that we wanted was not available.
Right.
But with the amount of teams, like, working on an infra for, like, I think about 3 4 months, then
Hmm.
we started discussing with different teams, and we explained to them what we wanted and what our vision was. So those infra companies started working on those. So that's the first time we started working on infra. And if we were to talk about the infra layer, uh, personally, we have built a lot of infrastructure, such as the Remitex. So Remitex was one of our products which we launched, like, which was one of our first products,
Hmm.
which allow people to send payments to any mobile number or email address in the world. So that is right now an infrastructure product which, like, people can basically leverage via different SDKs. But we never thought of making it an SDK or an API which other
Hmm.
developers leverage, because, like, we wanted it to be exclusive to our platform. So in terms of infra, that's a direction which I don't believe we'll be taking anytime soon. But
Hmm.
again, like, anything can happen. Merchants, like, infrastructure for merchants or something like, Stripe for DeFi is something which which we are definitely planning on becoming. But again, infrastructure for developers is not something which I believe that we are going to do something in the near future. So yeah.
Okay. All right, good to know. I think it's good to have a sharp focus as it is when you're working and building something so tremendous. So keeping your focus at a level where you want more consumers to perhaps be joining in the Web3 bandwagon and utilizing it in an easier, efficient manner, staying true to your basically vision. I think that is a good way to move forward.
100%, definitely. I mean, if everybody starts doing everything, then the space is
Mm.
not going to progress. And
Ab-
I believe we have a lot of infra projects, like
Right.
and there's a reason that we have so many infra projects. It's much easier to build a business out of, like, again, every business is very difficult to build, but in the Web3 space, we have always seen infra projects or infra companies to do better than consumer. We can say that is because, well, the and DeFi is built on top of, building on top of different layer ones, which are
Right.
nothing but infrastructure. So
Yeah.
infrastructure will always be the winner of Web3. But if we cannot build the consumer layer, then the space won't survive and nobody will need that infrastructure. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think that is, really hitting the nail on the head. Now, we are almost at the end of the time where you have to wrap this up. I would love to know from you, are there any resources or any thought leaders or just any founders that, you admire in the space that you would recommend that our listeners perhaps key into as well?
Okay, so this list is very, very long.
Yeah.
But if I were to say a few people who I
Hmm.
really, really admire in the space, uh, so one of them would definitely be Ajit Tripathi. So,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
I like the reason why I like Ajit sir is because, like, Ajit Khurana, Ajit Tripathi, both of them. Ajit Tripathi provides, like, he's the biggest DJ I know.
Hmm.
So, like, he knows DeFi and he knows Polygon. So, like,
Yeah.
that's the reason. So he's one of the people I love interacting with. He's one of the people I love, listening to. He's one of the people, I just love seeing on my Twitter feed. A few other people would definitely be one of them would definitely be Vitalik. So, like, Vitalik is the OG. He knows his stuff, and but understanding Vitalik is going to take a lot of time, because the stuff he says is just difficult to understand.
Hmm.
And other
It's a
other
little too technical, perhaps.
it's
It's
super
not
tech-
for everybody. Yeah.
it's super technical. And a few of the people who I really, really admire in this space. Again, like, there's so many, but I'm just trying to figure out from the top of my head who are the people who I admire the most. Um, I believe, uh, I believe one of them should be definitely be Mort from Solana, Mort from Helios Labs, who is
Hmm.
currently on Solana. So he has a lot of hot takes, and he's not against EVM, but I really like his takes. So these three people are these three people are some people who who I would definitely follow on Twitter to get the insights on. But if I were to say people who have taught me the most in the DeFi space, it would be very different people. It would be Christian from MakerDAO.
Hmm.
It would Stanny. I like Stanny, but Stanny has shifted more towards lens and
Yeah.
more towards social media. So right now I don't listen to him. 2021 Stanny is someone who I loved to follow. And lastly, I would say the one person, if I were to select, it would be it's a very he's also he's a influencer, but
Hmm.
like he's a great friend, and he's he's probably the most knowledgeable influencer I know. It's Hitesh Malviya. So he's
Yeah.
a great guy,
Very,
and
very great insights. Yeah. Very, very,
very
the way he kind of puts it forward in a succinct manner, I think it's wonderful because it makes it so much more accessible, right? The information.
100% definitely. So those are the people who I would follow in terms of resources, and I just mentioned the people who I like the most on a Twitter feed. But
Hmm.
yeah, these are the resources. And other than that, again, like there's so many resources out there on the internet. And right now we have Perplexity. So just like once you get into Perplexity, once you just enter the term DeFi,
Hmm.
all that you enter into, it's just vast. So just enter the word DeFi and Perplexity or Google, and
Yeah.
you'll enter the rabbit hole. So yeah,
Absolutely. I think it's a rabbit hole that once you fall down in, you have a hard time getting out because there's just so much to learn and so much to imbibe.
100%.
So, Harshal, this has been such a lovely conversation. It came with its own glitches, but thank you so much for being accommodating. And I really don't want this to end. I think what you guys are doing is wonderful. It completely aligns with my ethos of making Web3 more accessible and easy. But I'd be amiss if I did not ask you this one question that I ask everybody who comes on the show. Are someone who discovered crypto and then you got into Web3. If there is somebody like you pretty much who has the next great idea, perhaps around improving the ecosystem, but they're still sitting on the ledge, what would be your suggestions to them for them to start living on blockchain?
Okay, so well, this is a very interesting question, and I usually give a very simple to answer to this.
Mm.
Don't just do it.
Yeah.
Right? Just start building. I mean, a lot of people think what if I do this, then the repercussions, the consequences may not be favorable. But I believe until and unless you do it, you won't understand. So you will either succeed or you will learn.
Hmm.
So, but once you think if you keep thinking, if you keep procrastinating, um, you cannot do anything. I believe just start building. You'll either succeed or you learn. So once you start building, you'll enter into a new world,
Hmm.
and I can definitely assure you is that that you're not gonna lose if you start building. So that's what my suggestion is. Just start building. Just learn how to code. Start coding. If you don't know how to code, still learn how to code, because in this space you need to know how to code. And building is something which you have to start by your own. Until and unless you have very great friends like me,
Hmm.
so get your friends and start building. So that's my only suggestion.
I think those are wonderful suggestions. I think just start building, don't wait. I would even add that, even if you are perhaps not that technically sound, do not let that stop you from getting into the space. Because A, you can always get help. And B, that there are a lot of no code tools as well that are available, perhaps for you to just get started at least. You don't need to have a fully working product to be able to validate the idea. You just need to have an MVP, and you can build an MVP with even no code tools and with a little help from the ecosystem, just so that you can validate your idea and then perhaps go forward and build your vision in a more uh, you know concurrent way, perhaps.
Absolutely, totally agree on this, because I myself started as a non-tech guy
Yeah.
uh, for Prahara, and when I started saying I was a non-tech guy for more than a year. So
Hmm.
definitely, like being technical, like that's not a barrier anymore. Like with Chat GPT, I mean, earlier it
Exactly.
was
Yeah, you can learn on the go, right? That is not an excuse anymore that you can have that, okay, I'm not technical. Because see, I started my journey like, I don't know, as an entrepreneur in deep tech, that too, nearly 14 years ago. And I come from a background in humanities. But that never really stopped me from building the products that I wanted to build and doing what I wanted to do. Because even when there was no chat GPT, there are always resources online, and you can sort of become a self-taught techie. It's not that hard. And as long as you have the perseverance and the grit to do it, the world's your oyster.
100%, definitely, totally agree on that.
Thank you so much, Harshal, for making the time to speak to me today. This has been such a wonderful conversation. All the best for Xade. I'm already one of your users. I think you've built a wonderful product, and I'm looking forward to your new releases as well.
Yep. Thanks a lot for the call. And, thanks a lot for having me, Tarusha. And really great to be over here. Thanks a lot.
Likewise. Thank you.